Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Greg Furman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com, and this is the Forex market outlook for February the 8th, 2010. Now in the presentation this week we'll be reviewing the main currency futures, the US dollar index, and a number of commodities that will affect the Forex market. So to start this week's presentation, we will again begin with the US dollar index. We can see we've closed at 80.44. I've been calling an up move on this since essentially the end of November. We've had a couple of minor dips. We can see that this crossover from Vantage Point has actually taken place at the beginning of December, confirming the uptrend in the US dollar. We then had this dip here towards the middle of January, I guess January 15th or so, where the 3-day crossed over the 8-day and the predicted 18-day moving average from Vantage Point, only to subsequently run flat for a period of a few days and then move quite a bit higher. So thing to point out here, using the software the way we've used it, if we're using this simply to buy US dollars since the beginning of November, fairly easy trading actually. Taking positions against the US dollar right now, clearly not recommended based on Vantage Point's forecasts. So again, to begin the week, we're going to identify excuse me, major levels of support: 78.71, 79.37, and 79.96. Only a sustained break of 78.71 will take the pressure off the top side on the US dollar index. I anticipate a move towards the 81 area. Now, of course, it's not going to move just strictly to 81 or 82 on the index. It's going to move up and down. It's going to have some corrective moves. The main thing is to identify the key levels of support as to when we're going to get potentially a trend reversal. I don't currently see that anytime soon. I think the US dollar index is going to hold its value for at least a few more months, but we are definitely going to have some corrective moves. We can see here, looking at the predicted TSI from Vantage Point, we're in heavily overbought territory. RSI is also extremely overbought. It's starting to move lower. So it certainly can't rule out that we're going to have a retest probably of the 79.37 area, but I don't think that's going to come overnight. So again, we're going to hold our positions higher on that dollar index. Now, we're also going to look at some of the other main currency futures. I'm going to pull up the Euro FX futures here. We can see that we've got a crossover to the downside. The initial one took place, again, this looks very similar to the US dollar index. 3rd of December, we got the crossover on the Euro FX futures, has crossed considerably lower. We've then retraced up to this essentially just over this 144 level, where the 8-day attempted to cross over the 18-day predicted moving average. We can see here it ran flat for several days and then moved substantially lower. So again, we still have plenty of room to extend. We're going to identify the key levels of resistance right now: 140.47, 138.86, and 137.61, which is the predicted 3, 8, and 18-day moving average from Vantage Point. So in this particular case, only a sustained break of 140.47 will take the pressure off the downside on the Euro FX futures, which again translates into further downside pressure on Euro US. Now, our other main currency future we're going to look at here, I think is certainly a point of interest, is the Japanese yen, as it's clearly a driving factor in the Forex market. So what I want everyone to see was, we can see this chart here just above the 1.1 yen level here. We have a series of candlesticks holding above this area. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this long candlestick higher. We can see that we have a major base forming here, sitting at this 1.1 level. We've now extended, closed at 1.12. Clearly the yen looks like it's getting ready to gain, the Japanese yen currency futures, if we break it down by individual currency, it is getting ready, I believe, to move much higher. Now, how does that translate into the Forex market? That suggests that the yen, the Japanese yen crosses like Euro Japan, Australia Japan, Great Britain Japan are all going to move potentially move substantially lower. Now, for dollar yen, what that translates into dollar yen is further downside also, but the dollar yen is probably not going to move quite as aggressively lower based around the US dollar strength, but the dollar yen is still likely to move lower, but I will get into that further into the presentation. Now, going into our commodity futures to see how they're affecting the Forex market, we can see here Crude taking a pretty big hit. 69.59 is the close. We've got three major levels of resistance starting at 72.03, 73.30, and 74.44. Now, only a sustained break of 74.44 will be some kind of a relief for the downside on crude oil futures. However, unlikely that they're going to move above that area anytime soon. However, we are clearly oversold on a number of areas, but we do have room to extend. So we'll be monitoring that throughout the week, but for now, crude oil likely to see further downside pressure. Now, a further review, I think we should also review gold futures contracts, again, a driving factor of the Forex market. Key levels of resistance right now, 1099.50, 1088.50, and 1073.60 with a close of 1052.20. Gold taking a substantial hit here. We've got several crossovers have taken place from Vantage Point. We've got a crossover to the downside that took place in early December. We've got a minor crossover that took place at the beginning of January, and then again towards the end of January we've got another crossover to the downside, making the upside on gold look corrective in nature, not a new trend up. So it's very interesting. We can see that we have this time when we got the crossover from Vantage Point, the high was much lower than what we can see here in this candlestick area up in this 1220 range. So right now we've got another crossover from Vantage Point. Things are, very interesting in what's happening currently here. So we will be watching the gold very closely, but it does look like we have further downside pressure coming. So it's very important that we look at these main commodity futures to see how it's going to affect the Forex. Now, with that said, we've covered the main currency futures, the main commodities that are going to affect the Forex. We're going to now we're going to do just strictly the majors this week. So our first one we're going to be looking at is the US Canadian dollar. We can see that with the US Canadian dollar, we're going to identify key levels of support: 105.66, 106.34, 106.78. We're again in heavily overbought territory here on the predicted RSI, the predicted TSI from Vantage Point. We want to keep an eye on this, but I do believe we're going to get a retest of the 105.66 area. We can look to buy off this area, but again, right now, with these overbought levels, we can see that these candlesticks are basically all over the place, but they are holding above the 18-day predicted moving average. So for now, we're going to be looking for a pullback towards the 105.66 area, at which time we can consider staying with the current trend and getting into buy positions. But again, my concern here, we can see a number of candlesticks in this 107.50 area, which is certainly